Well, hello, everybody. We are back, and today's topic is about selling your business. And I am here with three seasoned entrepreneurs who have each sold their businesses and some multiple businesses. So we're going to learn from their stories. I'm Yoon. I coach entrepreneurs, and I also work with SMB owners through peer advisory mastermind groups. And this is really a big topic. It's been a big topic for the past 17 years. I've been working with business owners, and the goal that so many people have, which is understandable, is how can I get my business ready? So maybe in 5 years' time, 3 years' time, for some people, maybe 10 years, 1 year, that they can sell. They have the option to do that. So the process, can feel a little bit murky. So hopefully in this discussion, we can demystify some of the limiting beliefs that you might have about where you're at currently in your business. You can learn from their stories, what they did that worked, what didn't work so well, advice, that they've received. So it's really about learning from the collective wisdom of others. And I called this 3.5 entrepreneurs because I'm speaking with three, but somewhere in there, I may interject some thoughts from my experience of selling 3 of my past businesses as well. But I really want to focus on our guests. Now, we are speaking to Aaron Provencal. Aaron, say hello.
Hi there.
And Aaron had joined 5 Star Restoration back in 1993. And he was a big part of growing that company from just starting out as a husband and wife team to almost 19 million in sales in by 2021. And then you sold the business. That's right, Aaron?
Correct,
yes, and Aaron, you're from Rancho Cordova, California.
So we're just outside of Sacramento. Yeah.
Nice. So welcome, Aaron. We are also speaking with Diane Prince, knows the rush and the fear of creating a business. I love that. There is a lot of rush and fear. She has scaled from $0 to $1 million weekly sales after bootstrapping her first business to 50 million in 6 years and selling it to a public company. Diane built 6 other companies, resulting in 4 more exits. So Diane leverages the tools and lessons that she learned in running companies for the past 25 years to support entrepreneurs with starting, scaling, and selling your businesses. So if you'd like to learn more about Diane's business coaching, she can be found at dianeprince.co. But she also has a blog where she writes about hiring, managing, funding, mindset, and growing your business. And that's over at foundersgohere.com. So check that out for her blog. And she is from Malibu, California. So this is Diane. Now, my third guest is Patti Plough. Patti is the founder and president of excellegacy.com. She is an ESOP Evangelist. She helps SMB owners who are looking to sell to prepare your exit strategy. And Patti is also a longtime entrepreneur. She sold 2 of her companies in the past, and she's also currently a consultant and speaker. And your other business is Godmom LLC. Is that right?
That's one of them.
That's one of them.
That's one of them. I actually own another business that's a speakers bureau and an event production company.
That's right. And what is that one called?
Speakers and Events Are Us.
I love it. And you're in Key West, Florida?
Not right now.
Yeah.
Ian is going through Florida right now, so I'm in my other home in Wisconsin right now.
Yes, smart. Yes, everybody's getting out. But so welcome, Patti. I'm excited to hear about your story too, because I wish I met somebody about the whole ESOP concept back when I sold. But anyway, so we're going to talk about just to run through so our audience has a chance to understand what we're going to cover. I know they're going to want to know, when did you decide to first sell your business? Why did you decide to sell? How long did it take? What did the process look like? What were some specific challenges you ran into? What was the best advice that you've gotten? And stuff like that. So who wants to go first? Let's just tackle, when did you first decide to sell and why?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So, yeah, I wasn't really looking to sell. I was approached by a company that was looking to get a California presence. So they were based out of Florida. They had about 20 some locations prior to talking to me. But so they had approached me. We had several lunch meetings. I went out and met with their executive team and got to know them a little bit. I had a partner involved as well. So after talking, we decided, let's put this thing to market. She was kind of interested in retiring anyway. And we didn't want to just take the first offer that came about. So we wanted to kind of test the waters. We ended up putting the company to market. We spoke to numerous companies that were interested, a lot of private equity type companies, but we ended up coming back to the original company that approached us, and that's who we ended up feeling most comfortable with, and that's who we ended up being acquired by.
Boy, that's like a dream, right? You don't have to do any work.
Right.
You just had somebody knocking on your door and say, I want to buy your company. That's a thing. Wow, you really got the luck of the draw. That was great. So what year was that?
So that was, I'd been talking to them for, it was back in 2019, I think I first started talking with them. Mm-hmm. So it was a long process. We, like I said, went to market in 2021, kind of early in the year. And we ended up making a decision kind of towards, I think it was close to August of 2021. And then it was about a 90-day process to close.
90 days. Okay. So 19 to 21. Gotcha.
So yeah, we ended up closing December 31st, 2021. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Patti, Diane, when did you first decide you want to sell your business and why?
So for me, it was, I think for me, it was really intentional from the beginning, from the business planning. And I'm talking about my first business. That's the one everyone always wants to hear about. That was the biggest one. But we had, we were a husband and wife team then. And the goal was we were in our 20s and we wanted to see if we could start a business, build it. We had really no experience. Could we start and build it and retire in our 30s? So it was like intentional from the beginning.
That was kind of like a game. It sounded like
yeah.
So what was the business you started, Diane, with your husband that you guys grew it to 50 million? What was the business?
So yeah, and that's part of the story really is we had to, once we had that goal, then we had to, so it was really that goal of exiting was first, and then we had to find a business that would fit that because we wanted to start a business, but it had to, we looked at a lot of different kinds of businesses and brainstormed for several months. And so what we did, it's super random, like it's very niche. We started a staffing business that specialized in the technical people who work inside title insurance companies.
Wow, that is niched. Technical people who work in title insurance.
Like the people who create the policies, and then we later expanded to escrow and mortgage. But we started just in like title examiners, but that's like really specific niche. Mm-hmm.
No kidding. That's interesting. I love that. That's a $50 million business. That's really
I know, right?
You scaled it. Kudos.
Yeah.
I love that that's niched. That's interesting. So you started with that in mind. When I sold, I didn't even occur to me to sell. I was actually thinking I would do it for another 20 years. Mm. Patti, what's your story? What year when did you first decide you wanted to sell and why?
Well, we had just completed a merger with another company, and there were 6 of us, including my husband and I, so 4 other partners, and we were approached by a PE firm that offered us 30% over fair market value. Well, who wouldn't look at that, right? But the problem was, it was a roll-up. from another state. We had 200 employees, and they were all at risk. I've sat on boards with people who the staff was given 7 hours to clear everything out when a PE firm bought the company and closed it down. And they were right down the road from our company. So I was very concerned, and I was trying to put contracts in place so to at least protect our staff for a year or two. And that's not even realistic. It would have probably been negotiated down to 6 months, if that. But it was during that process, my husband and I met with a wealth management specialist, and he picked up on the fact that we were more concerned about our employees losing their jobs than we were about managing our own financial future, our own wealth from the transaction. And he said, I really think you'd be better off as an ESOP. And he said, do you know what that is? And we said, well, yes, it's employee owned. And he said, well, do you know what the benefits are? My husband and I didn't know the benefits. None of the partners, when I took it back to the partners, knew what the benefits were. One of them is that you're guaranteed fair market value for your company. And when I told my partners, they said, but Patti, we're getting 30% over fair market value.
All right, let me pause you for a sec. I think we're losing people in a couple of questions. One, I'd like to know, it's interesting, both Aaron and Patti, you were approached. So when you were approached, did they just find you out of the blue, or did you advertise anywhere that you were considering putting your business on the market?
Well, I think after the merger, in our space, we were a very attractive type of sale. So we had literally emails and phone calls, probably weekly, with PE firms reaching out to us. And so we decided, if we're getting all this activity, why don't we just put our company on the market and see what it'll bear? My husband and I were 64 at the time. And so we were the oldest partners. So we were looking at our succession planning. And that's where the 30% over fair market value came from, is a offer from putting it on the market. So it was because we were being approached. I would say a better word than approached was we were inundated with offers from PE firms wanting to purchase our company.
And just out of curiosity, going back to Aaron.
So obviously we asked to offer, and so we...
Okay, hold that thought. Because I'm curious with Aaron, when you were approached, did you advertise that the business might be on the market somewhere?
We did not. I mean, we weren't even thinking about it at the time, and he kind of planted the seed when we met with him and kind of expressed his interest in it. So then that's kind of where we started looking into it. There's been a lot of consolidation in our industry lately. Most of it's private equity. After doing our research, we didn't want to go down that route, and that's why we partnered with the company that we did.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, now going back to Patti, I'm curious about fair market value. Did you go to one firm to get a valuation? Tell me about how many valuations.
No. So first of all, in the process, we hired a broker when we decided to put it on the market to see what it would bear. They did a valuation and told us what they felt that it would, what we could sell it for.
Okay. And
that's when a buyer came in and offered 30% over that fair market value. But long story short, right after, all the other competitors were cut out because of that high offer. And a week after I heard about the ESOP deal, or about the ESOP option, the company that was doing the roll-up, once all the competition was eliminated, they reduced their offer by stating that there were certain things on the add-backs on the balance sheet they weren't going to allow. and all of a sudden they reduced it down to fair market value. And I know now that there's an actual term for that, but when you sell your business for the first time, you're not experienced.
Right.
Business owners are not experienced about selling their company. So they depend on others to help them and assist them. But the word deal creep, I found out after we transitioned to an ESOP, what happened to us with the high offer and then reduce it down to fair market value, it's called deal creep. And it's, I guess, common to eliminate all the competitors. But what it did for us, because one of the benefits of an ESOP is they guarantee fair market value. And I said to my partners, I said, we're only going south from here. If we have our first face-to-face meeting and they've lowered their purchase offer to fair market value, it's going south. We can guarantee it's going lower. So in the ESOP, number one, we can take care of our employees. Number two, we're going to be guaranteed fair market value. And then all the other benefits are just gravy on top of that, because there's so many other benefits. And none of us knew what they were until we sat down with that wealth management specialist.
Wow. So what did your business broker think of that?
Pardon me?
What did your business broker think of? Was he on board with you transitioning to the ESOP?
No, it was a longer process than that.
Right.
So it was a non-starter for us with that deal when they came back with fair market value. And we just didn't move forward with the business broker. We just let that contract expire and then move forward with the ESOP.
And how long did it take for you to implement the ESOP?
We found out about it in about February of 2019. And we were supposed to close December 31st of 2019. So 10 months.
Oh.
And our contract with the broker was almost expired. I believe it was an 8-month contract, and we had hired him the July before.
And how many employees? How many employees did you have?
200.
And did you offer employee stock ownership for all 200?
You have to. Employee stock ownership plans are qualified plans, and they actually protect the employees from themselves. Everyone has to participate that works 20 hours or more a week or 1,000 hours or more annually.
So if you have two employees who didn't want to participate, it doesn't work?
You have to have 15 employees or more working that 20 hours a week or 1,000 hours annually in order to qualify to become an ESOP.
Okay. So maybe I misunderstood you. I thought you said earlier, I thought what you meant was, can you clarify when you said they all have to participate? So if you had 200 qualifying employees, do all 200 employees have to participate with the stock ownership program?
If they all qualify by their hours, yes, because it's a qualified retirement plan. And so they all have to participate.
Did you have anyone who said, no, I don't want to do this?
No, because it's a free gift. They don't have to pay for it. So even though we sold our company to our employees, it was the actual company itself that bought out the shareholders on behalf of the employees, and the employees don't have to pay. It's a free gift. So who would pass that up, I guess I would have to ask, is who would pass up a free gift?
Absolutely.
We kept their 401k intact, and also have the ESOP retirement fund for them as well.
Wow, I know this is going to be a huge mind blower for a lot of founders who are also not familiar with ESOP. I know you've got a ton that you can share. I just want to go back though to Diane's story. let's go back to Diane. When you sold the staffing business, how long did it take for you to sell, and did you have any challenges in the process?
Yeah. What happened was we had some offers early on, but we weren't ready to sell yet. We just knew we didn't have the value quite yet. And it was like our first offer, and my business partner was like, yeah, if they offered us $100,000, I'd take it. Like, what are you crazy? one of our first dates.
Mm-hmm.
But, and it ended up, then, so we waited about 4 more years. And then throughout the whole business, we had advisors, and one who was particularly helpful was an investment banker. So we would go to him pretty much every quarter and say, okay, this is where we're at. Like, he knew our goals. And then we would take different steps and hire different executives and things like that to set us up. And then finally we did go to market. But then what happened was we had a deal in place, and one of our advisors, our CPA, had told us the deal will probably fall through. Like, normal deals fall through, I think he said, like 6 times before it closes. But our first deal was going on during 9/11. And they actually had their whole due diligence team from Ernst & Young, whose office was in the trade tower, were here in LA doing diligence. Mm-hmm. And so that happened. Our deal fell through. And then we decided we were going to hunker down and start growing. And we were going to acquire other businesers, mm-hmm. because it just wasn't, like, right after 9/11, that just did not seem didn't seem like the time to stay on the market. And then we hired someone to help us acquire businesses. And the first call he made to a business broker said, well, I actually have a company that might be interested in you. And then we went through the process. And the deal did probably, halt like 6 times, but finally that one closed.
So I think that's a really important piece of information that you said the process, it halted about 6 times. I think that would discourage a lot of people and think, oh, we're going to abort, but it didn't seem to discourage you. You just kept at it.
Well, and I think that the other thing that someone had told us that kept in my mind was, if both parties want the deal to happen, mm-hmm. the deal will happen. So that, keeping that in mind, and also knowing, like, I learned you also do have to be able to walk away, but that's hard. Like, that's a lot, it's like at the beginning when you start a company, you're watching every penny. And then at the end, when you're selling it, like, you literally walk away from millions of dollars just to get it done. Because it's like, you just want to close. But that advice, like, if both parties want it to get done, it will get done. That helped me stick through the process. Also, the carrot at the end was really nice.
Sure. So in your process, you hired an investment. It was an investment banker. You also mm-hmm. hired. Did you hire a business broker?
No, he had the investment banker. So you don't need they serve as the broker as well. And other companies I've sold, I've done it by myself. Mm-hmm. And I had hired an investment banker for another deal as well.
And were there any other advisors that you hired to help you guys on the process of selling?
Yeah, for us, there weren't really as many. There's some background noise, I think. There weren't really the same kind of, I don't know, like, I don't think they had like the consultants and coaches and things back then, like we do now. And we relied heavily on our accountant. Our lawyer took an advisory role in that. We had a board member who helped us, and then also the investment banker really served as an advisor as well.
Gotcha. Okay, those are key. Aaron, I'm curious about your story. Was there anything challenging in your experience that you can share, just for people to know what might be ahead for them?
Yeah, so just getting a good team on your side. You want a good CPA, you want a M&A attorney that's used to dealing with these transactions and can guide and direct you on the process, I think is important. They hired a quality of earnings team, an outside firm that came in to evaluate the EBITDA and come up with the final EBITDA at one point. So that was a grueling process going through and getting all the information that they needed. So that took quite a bit of time to pull everything together, but it's definitely worth it at the end. Yeah.
Nice. And how did you feel after you sold? Do you feel like do you feel free? Do you feel like you miss it?
You know what I did? I rolled quite a bit of my equity into their company. They are a up and growing company as well, so I'm staying on working for them, helping them grow, and I've got shares in their company as well. So
Oh, good. So it's not like you're retired with nothing on your agenda.
Nope,
So you're still
not much has
involved.
changed. Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. So thinking about advice, some advice has already been shared, but is there any other advice that as you look back in your experience selling your businesses, that you received? What stood out for you that you really appreciated?
Yeah, I think that part about looking at every dollar
Mm-hmm.
in the transaction, because you can be, it's an emotional process. So, it's like when you sell a house, or I mean, it's very, you get you want it to close. At least that was my experience, and it helped us to have advisors who had been through the process to help us sort of calm down, because like we got to the point where we just wanted to get whatever they wanted, but there was a lot of money on the table. So be willing to, it's easier said than done, but be willing to walk away, and also keep building your business. Don't take your eyes off of the business while you're going through the process.
Great advice. It's funny. For me, I felt like it was more emotional in my experience after I sold because I had to say goodbye to everybody on my team, and they were upset, and that made me upset. Well, I was upset too because I just love my people, but I felt like I was giving up my fourth child up for adoption. So it was, for me, it was emotional just because of the people, but yeah, I mean, I could see how the process, especially with having it halt 6 times, could be emotional too. Absolutely. Patti, any other additional advice that you received in your process of selling your 2 businesses that you can share with other entrepreneurs?
Well, you had just mentioned about saying goodbye. And another benefit of an ESOP is that you can stay on and stay in control of your company and continue making your same salary, even if you sold 100% of your shares to the ESOP. And so that gives business owners the opportunity, if they're not ready to step down and make that transition, the opportunity to stay on in some capacity until they are, ready to do that. And then they can actually step down and still remain on the board if they wish. So I love that idea, and that was what I was planning on doing, is staying on at my company in my role at that time. But then I discovered that truly, I've met one person now in 2.5 years that knows the benefits of ESOPs. And the only reason they knew is because they wanted to do one, but they weren't quite big enough yet. And I just got back from a conference in Las Vegas, and these are business buyers it was a conference of 177 business buyers. Mm-hmm. And they didn't know what the benefits of ESOPs were. And that's why I stepped down and I started Excel Legacy Group, so that I can educate business owners on the benefits, so that they know going forward that this is an option for an exit strategy.
I love that. I mean, I'm telling you, I wish I knew what ESOPs were. My last business I sold was in 2006, and that one had 30 employees. Yeah, just didn't know. I never heard of it. Aaron, Diane, maybe you both have heard of it. Are you familiar with ESOP?
I've heard of them. I never really explored them that deep. I didn't have all the details. So yeah, it's a very interesting concept.
Yeah, I've heard of them, but I didn't want to keep on. Like I didn't have the same sentiments. But we did start a new business after our non-competes expired with the same people. That's a whole other story. A lot of the same employees. That's a whole other story. That's a whole other piece of advice of restarting and doing something again.
Yeah, because you did 4 exits total.
Yeah, I mean, and it was 5 total. And I mean, my advice on that is it's when you sell a business, and we sold to a public company, it was, a pretty big deal for us, and entrepreneurs and founders get, it seems like you can just do it all over again. It's not easy to do it all over again. And, it's still a gamble. So yeah, you might be more likely to succeed. And we started a similar business that was successful, but it wasn't like, it just never was the same. And so it's, appreciate what you've got and what your deal is. And it's not as easy just to, and I was very young. I did spend my 30s retired, which was awesome and really fun. And, but entrepreneurs tend to think I can just sell this one and then do it again. It's still a gamble, and it's not as easy as you think it might be.
Good for people to keep that in mind, absolutely. So I'm also curious, for a lot of our viewers, a couple of things I know what's going on in their head. They're not sure if their business is going to be sellable. If who's going to want to buy my business? I don't know. I don't have any assets to sell, or the business is too centered around me. What do you have to share for the people who might have that floating around in their brains?
I was actually given advice from a mentor early on in my entrepreneurial journey that told me not to make the business all about me or focused on my relationship with the customers. And so early on, that is the piece of advice that I can give every business owner. If it is focused on you right now, make a conscious effort to build a leadership team that can it. I mean, even with ESOPs, the trustee who represents the employees,
Patty, your audio went in and out. Could you repeat what you said? I lost you on build a leadership team. That's where you froze out.
Yeah. Okay. It's so important to build a leadership team and not have the business dependent on you, because if it's only dependent on you, you will not get the value that you're hoping for out of the company unless you have a leadership team that can take over when you're not there. So the business needs to be able to function 100% in your absence in order to have the maximum value when you get ready to exit. And even with an ESOP, because I had received this advice in the 90s, and I built my businesses as such, when the trustee came in, he actually came to our facility and had to meet the leadership team. We had to prove to him that we had a team in place and that we were replaceable 100%. Otherwise, he would have devalued the company accordingly because of that. So that is so important, is to not be the face of your company.
Absolutely. Totally agree. And that's a common thing that I try to get my clients who are business owners to believe that it's possible, because that was the first step that I took back then. I found myself working 50, 60 hours a week. And then my next immediate goal was, let me just shave 10 hours. I just want to limit it to 40. I got to get the business to grow with just me working 40. And then the following year, it was a 30 goal. And then I got it down to 20 hours a week. And then 5, 6 years later, getting it down to 10 hours a week for the business to run without me, or at least I just worked 10 hours a week. And I'm always surprised how some people, when I share that as the first immediate steps, some people actually say, oh, that's too good to be true. That's not possible.
Well, it's the difference between an owner-manager and an owner-investor. An owner-investor works on their business, not in their business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Diane, you talked about that it took you another 4 years to work on the business some more, before it finally sold. So what were the specific areas that you made an improvement? What are the changes you made in that 4-year time frame?
Yeah, I mean, just we expanded our offerings. So we started out just doing title insurance, then we did escrow, then we did mortgage. So we expanded. We also brought in a president, another executive, and we brought in a chief operating officer. So we added to, like Patti said, we added to our executive team. And I would also add what's important too is having a healthy client mix. I mean, that's incredibly important. Like we had Countrywide Mortgage, who was like the poster child of the financial crisis in 2008. That was our biggest client in one of our companies, but we still had a healthy client mix. So it definitely affected us, but it didn't destroy us. And then also having a recurring revenue model is extremely important, because you have to have something that's valuable to sell, because those, sometimes people ask that question and it's a valid question. Some companies, if they're more transactional, and it is, I mean, we started from the very beginning. No, people didn't even know we were married. I mean, we were 26 years old. Our clients were in the, like 50s. And, I mean, we just acted as if we were a big company. And we did everything at the beginning, but nobody knew that.
Wait, but this was the recruiting company you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the recurring revenue model for recruiting was just that.
Yeah, I mean, we were staffing.
Okay.
No, we didn't do a retainer. We had temps. So we had thousands of people on temporary assignments. So that's what, yes, if you are like, and I work with several recruiting companies, and when you're just doing direct hire placements, that's much more transactional, very hard to sell.
That's why I was going, wait, what is a recurring revenue model? I would really like to know the magic model for recruiting.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
why our billings were $1 million a week.
Mm-hmm.
We had thousands of people on temporary assignments. So that can, when we sold, those people continued on assignments.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. All right. So you focused on adding more services to your business model, and you increased your leadership. So where the sales revenue in that 4-year time frame, where was it when you started, and then where was it at the end of the 4 years?
We were at about, so it took us 6 years in total. So 2 years in, we were at about 5 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then we expanded then that was annual, about 5 million annually. And then, our first year we did $1 million, and then 5 million. And then it just really took off from there. Especially once we added different, it wasn't really different. It wasn't different offerings. It was just added different niches.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever think about, like, it's kind of like walking away from the gambling table. Did you ever think about holding onto your cards and waiting and expanding it more and trying to double it? Did that ever?
Yeah. And I mean, we were sort of regretful a little bit after we sold it and realized we could, but it was, I don't know, I guess you make the decisions, sure. But, but it was a good deal. And it was a nice time, and we had young kids and had another baby after that. So it was,
it was a good time with your babies.
Yeah.
But so it sounds like flipping homes, right? The way that you just really transformed the business and went and sold it. That's awesome. So what are some other objections that you think entrepreneurs may have in their process of trying to sell their business? Like objections as
I have
mental blocks.
I have one thing that I think is really important, that is the way I sold another business, was after I had been retired a while. ended up taking over a business and selling it. And it was, I really relied on the power of networking. And that's one thing that I hear some entrepreneurs say is that, I don't want to network on it, like really putting yourself out there, because then you can, if you meet people who could be strategic buyers, right. I think that's incredibly valuable. Because using an investment banker works if you're multi-millions, but if you're not, if you're selling $1 million business, you might not want to use a broker. I've done it on my own. I've picked up the phone and called my contacts.
Yeah. I did that. I called my competitors and said, do you want to expand your locations? Awesome. Any other objections or negative limiting beliefs that you may have come across, Aaron or Patti, from other owners who just aren't sure if they're going to be able to sell their business?
Well, I think there's a couple things that I have discovered, is that either they feel their business is worth so much more than it truly is.
Yes.
So it really pays to have a professional do evaluation, somebody that is credible, instead of just guessing. And I just ran into an individual that their business was probably worth a couple $100,000. And when he was asked, do you have any idea what your sale price, your sale price would be? And he said, $2 million. Well, there's a big difference. And because they really, what I've found out with business owners, they really don't know. I mean, first of all, very few think about their exit strategy. And if they do, what I have seen is that they value it much more than what it's worth on the open market. And so there's a big void there. And I think business owners, it would help to become educated on what the true value of their company is, if they put it up for sale. And that's when a valuation company comes in.
Absolutely.
And know the multiples in your industry as well. I mean, there are some multiples that are 10x, and that can, and know what add backs can, you can put back in to increase. Like if for every add back, and you're like when we sold to the EBITDA, we were an 8 multiple. That was times 8 for every, like for instance, the owner's salaries was times 8. That's how much value was added to the company. And that's why a lot of the other owners decided to retire, because they wanted to get the most value for the company. So I think education on what the true value is would be very helpful to a lot of business owners.
Great advice. Love that. Absolutely agree. Get a formal evaluation, and even try a couple different firms just to compare, because it's so subjective in some industries, right? I'm curious with Aaron, your story. What's it been like for you? Now you're not the owner. How's your life changed? I mean, I know you said earlier it hasn't changed much as far as your day to day, but I mean, overall, what's your mindset been with how's it feel not being the owner anymore?
It's always nice taking a few chips off the table and having that financial relief, and not have to stress about where the company's going, how well you're doing. I mean, there's an earnout and things like that we're working towards, but just having that comfort, it's very refreshing for sure.
Thank you. I love that. So, I mean, it just demonstrates, I think everybody around the table demonstrates the options that people have. So you can sell your company and still work in it, but you just don't have all the headaches and the responsibilities. Or you could sell your company to your employees with ESOP programs, and definitely reach out to Patti to learn more about that. Or, Diane's journey, which has been starting more businesses and selling them again and selling them again. And now, of course, you help entrepreneurs be able to start, scale, and sell as well. So the options are endless. I love this, that everybody's really still stayed in some type of business aspect, because sometimes I find people only have one reason, or they think there's only one reason to sell, and that's, to retire. But there's many reasons. There's many benefits and situations where selling your business could make a big change for your life. So I loved all of you sharing your stories. I really appreciate your transparency and the nuggets, the wisdom, the advice. So just in closing, if you could share one sentence of advice, final words of advice to other entrepreneurs out there who are now thinking about, all right, I got to focus on systematizing and scaling the business so I can sell. So what's your any other final words of advice?
I think it's kind of been touched on is, if you're running the business day to day, try to get a team in place to run that day-to-day actions. People that are looking to buy businesses aren't typically looking to buy a job. And if they are looking to buy a job, your multiple is going to be very low. So yeah, having that team in place will go a long way when you go to sell.
I love how you put that. They're not looking to buy a job.
Yeah.
I love that. And that just rings true to say, yes, you got to be able to create it where you can step away. Diane, closing words?
Okay. You don't really know, you don't know who's going to buy your company. And it's been, from my experience, it's always been someone with a really specific kind of want or need that the business is filling for them. So build relationships, do that through conferences, network, online forums, trade shows, build relationships with other people in your industry.
Love it. Build relationships. Patti.
I think we've all heard about what is your why.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be applied to your exit strategy. Is your why to leave a legacy, to protect your employees? Then look for business exit strategy ideas that meet that goal. Whatever your why is in your exit strategy, pursue that first, and then plan accordingly.
Love it. What's your why? Network. Don't forget, people don't want to buy a job. It's really, really well put. Thank you so much, all of you, Diane, Aaron, and Patti. This has been an awesome discussion, and I'm sure people are going to want to know more. So I want to invite everybody to share your comments below. We'd love to know, what are the nuggets that you took away? What are the ahas? I also want to know what questions do you have that we didn't cover, because we can do a part 2. So what questions do you have? What are your specific challenges as far as your process of wanting to sell your business at some point? Please share that in the comments below. So thanks for joining us today. The topic again was how we sold our businesses. This was featuring the stories of 3 amazing entrepreneurs from different sectors, which I love, the variety, and definitely reach out to Patti, Aaron, or Diane and continue the conversation. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you at the next roundtable.